Good afternoon. I'm Diane McNulty, Director of Corporate Communications for the New York Times. Thank you all for coming. Can't really see here. It's our great pleasure to host these Alliance for the Arts forums in collaboration with Randy Borscheit and Ann Coates. We're delighted to have such a stellar audience with us today for what promises to be an interesting and enlightening session. These forums have a distinguished history of presenting cultural leaders in New York who are taking on new roles. And the New York Times is honored to partner with the Alliance in this endeavor. I'm particularly delighted that tonight we have Leslie Koch, who will oversee the redevelopment of Governor's Island, the 172-acre park in New York Harbor, where last summer more than 250,000 visitors took the free ferry ride to attend concerts and art festivals there, but more about that later. Here to introduce today's event is Randy Borscheit, President of the Alliance for the Arts.
Thank you, Diane. And I'd like to thank you and your colleagues at the Times for hosting us today, and also thank all of you for coming. The Alliance is an advocate and a service organization to the cultural community. We do this primarily through our research on the economic and educational benefits of the arts, and also through our commitment to developing audiences through our NYC Arts websites. But from time to time, we invite our friends and colleagues to gather and hear the news from the frontier. And we have a real frontier in Governor's Island, and it's not very far away. Many New Yorkers have long imagined what it would be like to open up Governor's Island to the public. That day has arrived. It arrived a few years ago. With the recent announcement by the state and the city of New York that the city will take the lead in developing the island, this perfectly situated spot can now be added to our system of parks and cultural facilities. That process has already begun thanks to the Governor's Island Preservation and Education Corporation, headed by our speaker today, Leslie Koch. Leslie has brought amazing creativity and diversity to the early programming on the island. The range includes this talk by the LES Ecology Center, quote, "Composting in the city, yes we can." Forgive me, that's a little off topic. This talk is about the arts on Governor's Island, but I wanted to share that with you. The success of the past 4 seasons is the result of Leslie's strong leadership and the support of the city administration. Here to represent the city is our Commissioner of Cultural Affairs, Kate Levin.
Thank you so much, and thanks to our hosts at the New York Times and also to Randy and Ann and everyone at Alliance for the Arts for this convening. It's a wonderful privilege for me to get to introduce Leslie Koch, who is an extraordinary leader for extraordinary and extraordinarily difficult projects. She returned to New York City from a stellar run at Microsoft and became CEO of the Fund for Public Schools, where she raised $150 million for innovative system-wide reform, and at the same time really helped to rebuild the model for public-private educational partnerships in the city before she was appointed in 2006 as president of the Governor's Island Preservation and Education Corporation. And I repeat that name because I think the name alone tells you about the breadth and complexity of that task. She inherited 150 of 172 acres. The remainder is under the management of the National Park Service. Lots of buildings. I don't think the Coast Guard ever met a generator they didn't like, so there were lots of generators. And lots of ambitious ideas about the future, but still I think it's a safe, cheap shot to say that this was not quite Fantasy Island. So her key strategy has been to use the arts to create a new audience and a new constituency for Governor's Island. And from our perspective at the Department of Cultural Affairs, this has been extremely significant in terms of timing for our creative community. The city has lots of wonderful venues, and the administration is very proud of having supported the construction and renovation of many of them. But there are also many artists who increasingly think in opportunistic and occasional ways in their approach to where their work is presented. And Leslie and her team have really done a spectacular job of tapping into that energy. In addition to composting, they've worked with extraordinary partners like the Public Art Fund, Creative Time, Figment, the Children's Museum of Art. They've commissioned artist-designed mini golf courses. I never got past hole number 4 last summer. And in combination with Water Taxi Beach and free bicycles, it has been an extraordinary place to spend some time. Personally, I can speak to our partnership with Leslie most vividly through our experience of helping to organize and promote Make Music New York, which is an event that is now going into its 4th year on June 21st, involving musicians from all over the city coming out and playing. 2 years ago, we had a number of punk bands who wanted to participate, but sadly, no street corner was really anxious to host them. So we called Leslie, and she was willing to welcome them. And I can tell you that last year, groups including the Lightning Crabs, Scum City, and Vagina Panthers all made their home on Governor's Island as part of Punk Island. Thank you, Leslie. And I know this for a fact because I have my Punk Island skateboard, which is a memento we cherish dearly at the Department of Cultural Affairs. We have our own little shrine for it. We are also partnering with LMCC and Leslie on creating some studio space on the island, which is really the next beachhead of cultural occupation of Governor's Island. So again, I speak personally and passionately of Leslie's stewardship and vision, and we so look forward to her leadership as she ushers in a new era of extraordinary creativity in the middle of our harbor. Leslie.